We're specialists in heating, air conditioning, ventilation, refrigeration, but also in service and solution business. And of course, we're part of a global organization, so our headquarters is in Osaka in Japan. You do feel that things are changing. I would say both at IT side, but also at business side. So if you say at the end of IT leadership is there, I would also like to challenge that maybe the general end of leadership is there, because also I think business leaders should become more IT savvy, and I think reversely, IT leaders but also IT people in general should become more business savvy. I once read that if you have a very fixed ambition, that you lose a lot of other opportunities. So I think it's really regular reflection, where are you today, where do you want to be tomorrow, and not think too much about the faraway future, because if you put your soul and your heart into it, I think you will arrive where you want to be.
This is CIONET TV. My name is Hendrik Deckers. I'm here today with Tom Tanghe, who is the General Manager, IT Center EMEA at Daikin. A very warm welcome, Tom.
Thank you, Hendrik. Thank you for having me.
Tom, you have a master in electromechanics and in polymer and composite science. And you have worked 5 years at Volvo Cars and now 24 years already at Daikin Europe. So Tom, tell us a little bit more about yourself. Who are you really? What's your background? And how did you get into this position?
So I was born and raised in Ostend. And then, as you said, did 2 masters in mainly in science engineering. With Volvo, I started as a productivity and quality driver. So really boosting productivity, boosting quality from the business side. Then moved into Daikin more in an IT role, where, over the years I had several functions in an IT aspect, but as well also taking some business roles during those periods. And I would say, some marking moments in that career, I say, is the operational responsibility. So really setting up the operational organization, driving it. At a certain moment, I also became responsible to unify the organization within Europe. And as an extension of this, I also lived and worked together with the family 2 years in Spain to set up a second team, also working for IT in Spain. And then since 3 years, I have been working as the general manager of IT Center EMEA.
Okay, Daikin is a well-known brand, but still give us a little bit the big picture. What is that the company does, how many people, revenue, and so on, and what is it that it does really, really well?
Let me maybe start with the last thing. What do we do really well? So we're specialists in heating, air conditioning, ventilation, refrigeration, but also in service and solution business. And of course, we're part of a global organization, so our headquarters is in Osaka in Japan. Currently, we have around 13,000 people in our organization in EMEA. This is covering around 12 factories, many sales organizations. And from a location point of view, let's say we cover around 130 locations throughout the EMEA region.
Okay, super. So you're, you have production in Europe as well?
Yes, so we have 12 factories in Europe.
So it's production, distribution, sales, support, the whole chain, let's say.
Correct.
Okay. So Tom, as a CIO for this global company, you have experience on how the IT leadership role has evolved over the years. And we see some people even say that we are at the end of IT leadership and that maybe we don't need any CIOs anymore. So how do you look at it? How do you see the role of IT leadership today?
Well, first of all, I think it's true that, things are changing, but that is probably true for many years because, technology evolves and we also need to evolve as a leader. But you do feel that things are changing. I would say both at IT side, but also at business side. So if you say at the end of IT leadership is there, I would also like to challenge that maybe the general end of leadership is there, because also I think business leaders should become more IT savvy. Yeah. And I think reversely, IT leaders, but also IT people in general should become more business savvy.
Yeah. So what does that really mean for an IT leader to become more business savvy? What is it how does the role, how does the responsibility change?
Well, first of all, I think if you look back at IT, we come from a background where we were much more reactive. So, we had to respond to questions from business and, we needed to deliver. We needed to make sure that, availability was there, continuity. Where today, I think the aspect of, are we sure that we are creating value is becoming more and more important. And I think it's not that we can eliminate all the past things, but it's something that we have to consider on top. So are we really creating value for business? Yeah. And I think to find out if this is the case, there needs to be much more collaboration between IT and business.
Yeah, like you said, also business has to become more IT savvy. How do you see your role in helping the business to become more IT savvy?
But I think it's twofold. It's first of all understanding, okay, where do we want to go as a company, and okay, how could technology be helpful there? And it's to help think how we could realize certain of those ambitions. And rather than waiting for the question to come, more and more we try to be on top of things and say, look, what if we would do this or could do this? Would you be interested? Would this help us? So I think it's being more proactive than before.
Yeah, because otherwise you will get these executives coming in and say, I want the latest AI, or why don't we do this in the cloud? And they start to take over. So as the role of the CIO has changed from more operational and to more business oriented, what does that mean for the skills and the mindset of the IT leaders of today? What are the skills that you need in your role today to really do that job very good?
But I think communication is surely one key element, because okay, I would say you need to earn a bit your spot at the table. Yeah. Maybe in the past this was not so much the case. And this also means that, okay, you have to be relevant in your communication. So I think it pushes you a little bit away from the technology talk, but it pushes you towards business talk, but then, okay, towards the internal teams, more translate this in, okay, how do we then approach it from an IT point of view? Yeah.
Now, you've worked in the business before, and so then you move to IT, so that makes it maybe easier for you to maybe more think business-wise and value-wise and so on. How do you see the role of the CIO changing in the next 5 years? Do you see many challenges coming up, and what do you see as their main challenges?
Well, I think it's, currently actually we're actively talking about this within the company, so we're preparing for the next 5 years. And actually, okay, where do we draw the line between business and IT is an active discussion. To be honest, it's not 100% clear to me how to approach this. It's clear that we should approach it. And I think what is also good is that we are at the table with business about this. Yeah. And it's about, okay, clear roles and responsibilities. And okay, what I would like to avoid is that if things go wrong, that suddenly it becomes again an IT responsibility. So I think shifting certain competences also comes with a certain responsibility, so this has to be crystal clear if you want to change things.
If we, for instance, look at IT budgets and so on, is there still separate IT budget, or is everything a business budget? How's the governance of that organized?
Well, in our case, it's quite centralized, so we really steer the IT budget, but it is allocated to certain business domains. So there is a clear distinction between, for example, sales and service. But next to this, okay, IT is also much broader than it was before. We also have a certain IT budget within R&D because we have a lot of connected products. And okay, to support IoT platforms, this also needs to be connected. And then within sales, we also have teams that are specifically focused, for example, on selection software, because we have quite a complex product. You have indoor-outdoor units, it has to be matched. So to support these kind of activities. So it's bringing this all together, I think, is also the challenge of the future that we're looking at. Okay.
So on the front of, let's say, more the business apps and the consumer apps in monitoring and programming your eco units, are you involved in that part of the business as well as IT?
Well, I wouldn't say in a leading role, no. But of course in a supporting role, because okay, if for example we want to offer a service and we want to sell it, okay, it will go through the e-commerce platform that we manage, for example. So it's bringing those things together, and I think bringing it as a simplified tool towards business, towards the customers, that is actually our main goal. Yeah.
Many organizations are moving from a product-oriented strategy to a more service and as a service strategy. How is that at Daikin? How is the business strategy going there, and how do you support that from the IT side?
Well, it's indeed also quite valid. So we want to move away from purely the product into a solution. So also in our overall strategy, solution business is quite important. Yeah. And of course, the solution business can be supported by IT tools. Of course, we still have to keep in mind that our business is also mainly a physical business. So we have to find a balance between where can we support from a technology point of view, but where do we still need the right people to do the physical part.
If you look at, all our organizations are going through a transformation, a business and a digital transformation. Where do you see, what are the main successes that you have already built, and where do you have still a lot of work to be done in your digital transformation?
Well, I would say the success is that, okay, if you look back, not so far away, 5, maybe 10 years, there was almost no touch points going directly to customers. So enabling self-service, avoiding that people had to go into our back office to find out certain things wasn't there. I think in the last years we have established a lot of those touch points, enabling self-service, but maybe now we have too much. So now we have to look more from the perspective of a customer and think how we can simplify things while still offering the same kind of service.
Yeah, because you're in a B2B business, but in the end serving end clients. So you have your distribution and your installer network and so on and so on. So you have different types of clients, in fact, right?
Indeed, yeah. So we have many types of personas, as we like to call them. Yeah. And even if you take an installer, we have very small installers, the man with the van, so a single person, versus bigger installing companies who have a dedicated administration, dedicated service, dedicated sales. So that is also the challenge in accommodating all those personas with a single platform.
Yeah. If you look back at a little bit at how IT has transformed itself and the role of IT has changed, we could say that we come from an era of IT as a controlling unit to now more IT as an empowering department with cloud and AI and automation and low-code, no-code tools and so on and so on. So the business can increasingly drive their own digital initiatives. So how do you see that in Daikin? Is that a big trend, and how do you make sure that you give the business units enough initiative and freedom, but at the same time make sure that you have the right governance in place?
Well, you mentioned 3 areas. I think today, for example, with data and analytics, probably there we are the furthest in this kind of enablement, where, for example, the role of IT is very clear. We deliver the platform, we deliver qualitative data, and on top of this, we allow business to build reporting or to go in more advanced use cases. But we control all the data sources, and I think this is also recognized by business as being the best approach. If you then look at cloud, I think there we still have an exercise to do on, how can we enable business more in accommodating their needs? Yeah. Of course, again, roles and responsibilities are important there. If you then look at low-code, no-code, my personal experience is less positive in the sense that, people do certain things, but it's often very individual. So if that individual goes to another department or goes away from Daikin, then the initiative quickly dies, for example. Yeah. So it's not something that we can maintain. So.
Okay. But is it a challenge in your organization, your environment, that sometimes end users start doing their own AI initiatives and our data and they install cloud services just with a credit card? And how do you control that?
Well, we do, of course, have certain rules about this. Of course, like in daily life, rules are there, but are also being broken. But I think it's mainly about creating awareness. So, why do we implement those kind of rules? What are the risks? Are people aware about these risks? So then I think, security comes in. We also have a lot of rules like GDPR to comply to. So automatically, people are a bit forced in following the right track. Yeah. But on the other hand, I think we should also accommodate, or create room for experimentation within a safe place, but with clear agreements. So I think also there, it's there, but I think we can also still improve as a company. You
said that you already made some good progress on the data side. And so I think in the end, all our organizations need to become data-driven organizations. So could you picture a little bit how far are you on that roadmap? Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, it's a roadmap that started, I think, about 5 years ago. So what we actually did initially is, from where we were at that point, is first of all, sense the needs of the different business units. So what was in their mind? Yeah. And in order to deliver this, what were we lacking from a technical point of view? So we build a whole structure around this. And actually, if you look at this now, we have quite a nice approach where, certain people are working, for example, on data governance, because, if the data quality is not there, whatever you're trying to do will not work. Yeah. Then we have worked on the architecture. And then gradually, we roll out what we call the control towers. For example, with sales, we are quite advanced there. where, okay, we bring in all the classical elements of just, okay, looking back, but also more and more we try to make predictions on what will happen. Yeah. And I think, okay, if you talk about data-driven, okay, this is allowing top management and, okay, management of those divisions to steer their organization. But at the same time, we want to infuse that data also in day-to-day operations. So the salespeople themselves, when doing visits, they get input out of the data lake on, okay, what is the next best visit, which quotation should I address, and so on and so on. Yeah. And this is something that we want to, of course, extend to other business areas.
On the service side, the data has to be very, very important as well for the maintenance of all the machines and so on. How does that work?
Well, actually there's, okay, we come again in a bit of a mixed field because, okay, let's say if it's purely product related, then, okay, we rely on R&D to come up with AI models, for example, for predictions and so on. But what we try to do is also try to link all touch points related to service. So, for example, if we can input data from the IoT platform, could we predict certain things to happen? So could we have a better organization of our service teams saying, okay, something will come very soon, so let's make sure we have enough people to accommodate, for example, or to be more proactive. So that is something that is currently also in progress.
Okay. From data, the logical next step is to do more and more AI. So tell us a little bit, where are you on that front? What's happening? Do you have already some implementations? And what's your bigger vision for AI in a Daikin environment?
It's of course an obligatory topic these days, so not a surprise. I think today we have around 23 initiatives around AI. And okay, as said, I think we are the furthest there in the sales environment, where typically, like based on all kinds of touch points, we want to create a more complete profile of a customer, which is helping our salespeople to take the right actions, for example. But also, like in a manufacturing, we're building up certain knowledge. In a service, we're building up certain knowledge. And of course, okay, what has had a very big acceleration lately is the whole generative AI. So also there, we try to embed these. And actually, I think on structured data, we're quite solid. And okay, we have a clear way forward. With generative AI, yeah, you also have to consider all this unstructured data. Yeah. Okay, it's everywhere and somewhere, but how do you streamline this kind of data to really make advantage of it?
Because it could be applied to, I don't know, manuals of all the machines and so on. Yeah. It's a typical example.
That's something we're also working on indeed.
Yeah. Okay. So we talked about how we go from control to empowerment. Another big trend that we see in IT nowadays, or that we've seen, is that we used to do big long-term ERP implementations, CRM implementations and so on. Not so much anymore, right? So now it's all about rapid innovation, and I mean, Daikin, you're in a very dynamic environment. So how do you balance your long-term IT strategy with this need for agility and continuous delivery?
Well, it's a good question, and it's quite a complex question, because I'm not such a fan of, okay, shifting suddenly everything to agile. I think you have to be sensible there, what project you treat in which way. I think what is different than before is that, okay, instead of, for example, just having an action plan that covers 1, maybe 2 years, we more and more create roadmaps that go really up to 5 years ahead of what we are doing. Mm-hmm. And also engaging very close with business on these roadmaps. So we try to understand, what do we try to achieve, how long will it take, which building blocks do we need. And the agility part in those long-term things comes, okay, maybe we can switch priorities at a certain moment, so we're not really fixated or fixed on a certain approach. Yeah. And I think the agile part, or the continuous delivery part, is really where, okay, we look at the touch points for business, where, okay, based on customer feedback, yeah, we need to be quick, because, okay, planning 6 months to change something small for business doesn't make sense. So I think it's on those two speeds. But we still see that, okay, there's also need on long-term projects, long-term vision. Yeah. So it's a bit this distinction we need to make.
It used to be that business would throw over the requirements, then 6 months later, or 12 months later, something would come back that doesn't really cover the reality of anymore. So how is this collaboration, and you see more and more a fusion of IT and business in your organization as well?
Yeah, correct. So I think we're quite lucky, because, okay, we work very close with business, okay, through what we call key users. Mm-hmm. And I think over the years, those people have become like quite IT savvy as well. So I think there, okay, it's maybe not so formal, but we have a kind of fusion team already. Yeah. I think we can still improve and accelerate on these things. But they really enable us to, for example, get in touch with, the service companies, get in touch with the sales, because, if as IT we had to stay in touch with all different companies, that would be impossible to manage from our side. So I think we're really lucky to be in such an environment, and I think this will also help us to accelerate going forward.
Yeah. Let's also talk a little bit about your partners, technology partners, sourcing partners, and so on that you work with. So what's your strategy today? Do you have many different ones? Have you consolidated? Who do you use for what kind of support? Can you elaborate on that?
So historically, we have always made the choice to mainly go for partners in operational work, and of course, this can have an extension in project work and so on. Today we have, let's say, 4 main partners. Accenture is there mainly for the application side. Yep. We have Kyndryl, which is there, for the SAP hosting. We have Fujitsu, which is there mainly for the back office and infrastructure. And then we have Econocom in the workplace. Okay. Let's talk a little bit more about Fujitsu. What exactly do you do with them, and how happy are you with that collaboration? So it's, as said, mainly about the back office, so the network, the server management, the telephony, and so on. Yeah. It's quite a recent partnership, so we had gone through quite an in-depth RFP, but let's say the initial signs are quite positive. And especially there, let's say, customer orientation for us is quite charming. So it's actually one of the first times where, if incidents happen, they really take the lead. Where in the past we always had to step in, and this is very disturbing in our organization because we're not organized anymore to be able to intervene in all these moments. Yeah.
So what does that mean contract-wise that partners need to, you select your 3-4 key technology partners, but you want them to be dynamic and follow the ever-changing way that you work and be innovative as well. What does that mean contract-wise? What kind of things do you need to build in the contract to make sure that you can have this dynamic collaboration with them?
Well, first of all, I think what is essential in a partnership is that the base things work. The day-to-day service has to work. But around innovation, I think there was also quite an evolution in our partnerships where, in the past you say, we expect you to innovate, but it's not that easy. It's really in a partnership that you innovate. So meaning we expect them to understand our business and come up with relevant innovation topics. And I think more and more we succeed. And also embedded in the contracts, we try to put an element of innovation budget. As part of the spending, for example, that we also invest in innovation. But what we do see is that, the key of innovation, I don't see with the partners, I see this internally. So for that reason also in 2020, we started up an internal IT innovation team, which is purely focused on innovation. And what works in our case is that, we, as said, we keep in touch with business, we find out where technology could help them, we experiment. And when we feel there is there is something in there, then we invite our partners to see how can we go to a proof of concept and eventually further into scaling.
So you have an innovation team within IT. Yeah. How does that work? What's the guiding principles, the working principles for that team? Yeah.
So we always start from a business problem. So, of course, we have to be aware about the latest technology and possibilities, but we never start from the technology angle. We always say, look, in that meeting, remember that person had this question, maybe now we can tackle that question or that problem with this technology. Yeah. We try to do a pitch to business saying, look, this is our idea, what do you think? And we try to unburden business of most of the work. We try to just show them results rather than saying, tell us what you want. We try to give them something. Yeah. And from there, we had some nice results. And actually, you also feel that, once you start in this way of working, that they come back with ideas as well. And it starts very small, but gradually you see it spreading. So currently we have 23 of those initiatives, which is quite nice, I think.
Another big trend that we see is that IT is becoming more and more human-centric. And it used to be that we had standard service for everybody, the same thing, and now it's more personalized service for different kind of users, different kind of individuals. I mean, we're evolving towards more automation, more AI-driven productivity. So how do you leverage all these enhancements to enhance the employee and the customer experience?
Well, actually, it's also a focus area within our strategy. So, we call it total experience, where, on one hand, we indeed have the customer experience, which is, of course, quite relevant and important. But those measurements are being done by business, so that they try to sense in the market, okay, first of all, what is the adoption rate of what we offer? Yeah. What is the experience of people? Do they see a lot of friction points in what we offer? And based on this is then coming back into this more agile approach. How can we accommodate this and improve this? So this is starting to work step by step. And the second angle is then the employee experience, where also, let's say, we have created a specific digital workplace team, where, in comparison to the past, where the focus of that team was purely technological, the extra element that we added is also the user adoption that we try to measure, that we try to sense, and also see, we offer a lot of things, but are they being used properly? Yeah. Maybe we should evolve. So that are a bit the two angles, and also we have to make sure that customer experience is also aligned with employee experience, because the customer can be served very well, but if internally people have insufficient tools, there will be a clash.
So most end users in the organization nowadays, they have a lot of tools. They have AI tools, maybe co-pilots, they have automation tools, they have all the different tools, but not necessarily, adoption is not necessarily an easy thing. So how do you make sure that all these new fancy stuff that can really increase productivity is really adopted, is used, so that you can create some good value with that?
Well, I think there is no magic ingredient on this. It depends on hard work, I would say. If you look at the initiatives that we did, if we balance a bit, how do you value technology? I would say it's 20-30% of the work, but probably 80 to 70% is about the change management, about the introduction. And there it's about, spending time, but also find a bit the coalition of the willing. Yeah. You always have people who are more, let's say, eager to on board on these things. And then I think the secret is to also celebrate the small successes, expose them, and then, gradually see other people coming in. Also with the other things, like the co-pilots of this world, it's about finding out what works, promoting it, and then, also explaining how it can be used. But yeah, I think this is the challenge of the future. The technology will be there, but how to make sure that people use it in the right way.
Do you think AI will disrupt completely your IT team as well? I mean, efficiency in your team could increase manifold as well, no?
That's of course the ambition, yeah. But of course we have to see, like programming and so on is not something we do internally, so that is with our partners. And indeed there I think, we have also to challenge them on being more productive. But if we look a little bit at our workforce, I think we have much more opportunities within business to apply AI. Because, the workforce is much bigger, so the effect will be much bigger. But, it doesn't mean that we don't have to reflect on our own way of working.
Okay. Now, Daikin is worldwide. It's a Japanese company. So let's talk a little bit about the Japanese culture. How much is that in the DNA of the European organization? And can you give an example what is special about that, or what do you like and what is challenging for you as an IT leader?
Well, what is surely one of the key elements, for example, is that, Kaizen, it's a Japanese word, it's continuous improvement. It's something that is deeply embedded into how we operate. Yeah. So we're never happy with the as is. We always try to evolve, and these shouldn't be big steps, but continuously you think how to take the next step. I think a second element, and this comes back also to the customer centricity, what we call Gemba is being, you have to be in the place where the action happens to understand what they need. So it's also, as IT, go to business, go into the field and try to see, we're developing something for service people, but how do these people work? Yeah. What would suit them? And what is also important is, personal growth. So we believe that, we can only grow as a company if the individuals are able to develop and grow themselves. So I think these are really fundamental things, and I think they are quite typical for Japanese companies. On the other hand, of course, what is something that you need to understand and need to work with is, decisions can take quite some time. So it's not that, if I have a bright idea tomorrow, that the day after we will start. So it takes some time to put everybody in the same mindset, but once this decision is taken, we rarely fail. So then everybody's really focused and goes for success. Okay.
But you're there already for 24 years, so you know the drill and the culture. Is this typically as well for the Daikin organization, that people stay a long time?
I have to say, if I compare to other companies, there's quite a long history of people within the company, especially in leadership. And if I reflect back for myself, you could say, isn't it boring after so many years? But actually, the company in which we operate today is totally different than the one at the moment I entered. So this constant evolution and challenge, doesn't make it boring. So for me personally, that's the reason why I'm still there.
Okay. Now, let's talk a little bit about your IT organization itself. You service 13,000 people to complete the EMEA Daikin team. So how is the IT operating model?
Well, the operating model, I would say, is still quite classical. It's still based on plan, build, run. Okay. So we have a small planning team, typically with a PMO office, enterprise architecture, people looking at integration. So if we acquire a company, the preparation on onboarding them. Then the biggest part of our team is on development. So actually there, as said, we have a team in Belgium, but also a team in Spain. Yeah. And then let's say on the more operational part, we have the operations team, infrastructure development, and also the digital workplace team. Yeah.
And let's talk a little bit on application level. What are the main platforms that you work with?
Well, I would say, one of the key elements in the back end is, of course, our SAP system, which, has been there for over 20 years now. Yeah. And we also, one of my colleagues here has also strongly always believed in centralizing those things. So I think this is also part of our success today because, everything is on one platform. And if you then go back to data and analytics, this makes it much easier to consolidate, to bring back data into the applications. And then also, of course, we have a big stack on Azure. So Microsoft is an important partner. And as a third element, I would say also Microsoft Office 365 Azure, because the whole new data architecture is actually based on Microsoft.
So where are you on your cloud journey and how far are you with the different platforms and applications already? And what's your vision? Do you go cloud only? Is that the vision or not?
Well, let's say since 2012, we had the vision of, cloud first. Okay. So meaning, if it can be in the cloud, it should be in the cloud. So I think today, if I look a bit at percentages, I think around 65-70% of our workload is already in the cloud. And of course, more and more you have software as a service. By definition, we are in the cloud. So our vision going forward is that, the only reason to still keep things on-premise is mainly related to manufacturing because, out of criticality or latency, we need to have it on-premise. Yeah. For the rest, we will move more and more to the cloud. Okay.
Now it sounds like you have everything nicely under control. What's keeping you awake at night? What are the things that you say, well, there as a CIO, I really need to take care?
I try not to be awake at night most of the times, but it's a bit what will come next? But at the beginning of this talk, how do we see IT evolving? What does that mean for the team? How do we prepare the team? Yeah. How do we make sure that nobody falls out of the team because suddenly there's nothing to do anymore, or maybe the skill set is not needed anymore?
So how easy or difficult is it for you to attract the right talent, to keep them, to motivate them, to make them grow? And let's talk a little bit about how big the team is as well, and how you make your successful teams.
Yeah. So the size of the team, I would say, is rather small. So we only have 90 internal people to govern. As I said in the organization file,
outsourced all the operations. Yeah.
Correct. So attracting people is not easy, but I think it's not easy for anyone. So that is a challenge and will remain a challenge. But I think for us the attention point is not to become desperate. So I think we still have to keep up high standards, and this is something that also me and the colleagues keep up. I think once they are on board, we are quite a dynamic organization, so that there are, let's say, a multitude of challenges. So if really people want to develop themselves and want to take opportunities, I think we can offer a lot. Mm-hmm. Also in our context, me personally and also the colleagues, we support also that, if people want to step into business at a certain point in time, we really encourage this also vice versa. We have several people in the team, so I think that is how we can attract people. Mm-hmm. And of course, skilling up people, I would say, is something we try to avoid in instructing them to do so. But we talk about, what is your mission, what is your target? And if they feel they need training for this, they should come up to us and say, look, this is my plan how to reach that target.
Yeah. How would you describe your own management style of making sure that your people are happy and productive?
But personally, I think I'm more in a supportive style. For me, it's important that we have a clear vision, so people understand, what we're trying to achieve, but also, what is the role as IT, but also personally, what is their role in the total environment. Mm-hmm. I think we're quite clear on, what we expect from them, And okay, if they need support, okay, I think I'm quite approachable. So that is where I see my role, more as a facilitator, as an enabler, rather than an instructor of what they need to do.
If I would go around your team and at the coffee machine and ask about your leadership style, what do you think your people will say about you when you're not around?
Yeah, it's of course a difficult question because when I'm around,
My favorite
they
question.
silence. But I did some anonymous investigations, so I think people, indeed confirm, okay, that I'm able to create a vision. So I think that helps them in their work. They would also tend to say I'm humorous at times.
Okay.
And okay, what also surprised me is that they say I'm a good storyteller. So what I try to do when we have quarterly, we are together with all the people in this kind of town hall meeting. And I try to end always with a picture because I'm quite visually oriented. So I try to put a picture on the slide and then just tell a story about it, but always link to what we're trying to achieve or maybe to something that happened. Yeah. That, okay, I think also for people to having that image in mind helps them, okay, to remind the message.
Okay. Now you have a team over here in Belgium, you have a team in Spain. How does that collaboration work? I mean, there's different cultures and so on. So and you lived a couple of years in Spain, so you I can imagine start to understand how the Spanish thing can work, right? Elaborate a little bit on that.
So indeed, you have to take into account a difference in culture. And okay, what helped me living in Spain is also to understand and maybe take away some assumptions that you have about Spanish people. I think how I was able to help them is, for example, to work more in a planning way and not to say, okay, we need to do this today, so let's quickly assemble. So I think that they appreciated this. I think I'm also able to calm down a bit sometimes how things are going.
Temperament.
Yeah, try to slow it down. But on the other hand, I think what inspires me also is their eagerness to do things, which sometimes in Belgium is maybe more reluctant or maybe more passive. But yeah, the challenge is indeed to keep the teams connected. So this means, okay, physical travel, because okay, teams can do something, but okay, the drinking something, eating something together, this is the key, I think. And of course, they have specific functions also. So there is a specific focus more on the customer-facing applications in Spain, while in Belgium it's more the back end. So.
And where are you based in Spain?
In Madrid.
In Madrid, okay. Yeah. So it's not
not the worst place to go, yeah.
Not a bad place to be. Okay. Let's talk a little bit more about your personality, Tom, because I believe that you are in this role because you're wired in a certain way, you think in a certain way already. Told us that you're very visual and you like to tell stories and paint a big picture and a strategy for people. But what's your passion for technology? I mean, you started from the business side. Why did you come to technology, and what is it that really excites you in this role?
It's a very difficult question to answer. But I was reflecting on this, and okay, I always had an interest in technology. Understand how things are working, how things are evolving. Also out of personal hobbies. For example, I'm quite into water sports, windsurfing, and it's also a sport that is closely linked to technology. So to understand how they make things, how they develop things, I created this kind of interest. And I always wanted to create something. So whether it's very deeply into technology or more broad, this is what sparks my interest.
Okay, and what are your interests outside of, except for windsurfing, what's the other interests outside of work?
Well, I would say interests, sports interest me. Executing them, doing them, also to keep a bit of the balance. What is also a passion of me, I try to develop when I have time, is photography. Okay. Because it's sometimes a combination. As a family also we like to travel, so this serves to bring some memories of traveling, but also I really admire people who can take nice pictures. That this can really move me.
Okay. What needs to happen that at the end of the week you're really happy about the work that you have been doing?
I think it's sometimes small things. So being able to make a decision, maybe something that has been pending for a long time, which is very hard, and suddenly you say, okay, let's decide, let's do this. This can really make me happy, like, okay, you feel on Monday you can continue and really make something out of it. In the moments where things go wrong, and you're able to fix them, but also learn something from them, I think this is also a moment where you're happy. and really keeps me going.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about your MBTI personality type. You shared with us that you are an MBTI, an INTJ, also known as the architect. And so these are people that are a little bit more introverted. They're intuitive, they see the big picture, they don't need all the details, more rational than emotional. And the J from judging, so you want to make sure that you reach your goals, set a plan, follow the plan, execute it, and so on. So typical strengths of INTJs is that they are rational, they're well-informed, independent, determined, curious, and versatile. Which of these resonates best with you? And could you maybe give an example on why you feel like that?
Maybe curious is the one that helps me, because when I get some news or read something, I always try to find out a little bit more about this and try to... For me, innovation is not something new. For me, innovation is trying new combinations, and I think that is often how I try to understand what would be possible, and also then use this to inspire the team. Maybe we should look in there or in there. So that is, I think, maybe what drives me most is the curiosity.
Okay. Now, every coin has a flip side as well. Potential weaknesses for an INTJ is that they can be arrogant, they can be dismissive of emotions, they can be overly critical, they can be combative. Do you recognize, what are your personal development areas, and how have you overcome your weaknesses? Because you can't be weak and be a strong IT leader, right?
If I can go back on the critical, I would say this hurts me most at home. This is the feedback I get from the family. You're being too critical. I think at work, it's part of my role to be critical. So I think that would more help me. I think the combative part is probably the attention point, because also, let's say from my sporting background, okay, I'm quite ambitious and competitive. And I think sometimes, before starting to push back, maybe make sure that you have the full story, that you fully understand what it's about. That's maybe the biggest attention point.
Now, it's a typical CIO profile. So most of our CIOs are INTJs, ENTJs, so you have the clear leadership profile. Let's talk a little bit about the values that you live by. Let's go one level deeper. And you shared with us that you have 3 kids and a dog, right?
Correct, and a wife, not to forget.
And you're 2018-16, so late teenagers, your kids. What are the key values that you have passed on to your kids, that you want them to live by and that you live by yourself?
There are several, of course, but I think honesty is one of them. I think that is quite important. Okay, even if it's not good news, let's remain honest with each other. And I think also in a professional context, this is for me quite important. If I feel there is a sense of dishonesty, this can really upset me. And the second part, I think, which the family understands and embraces, is also the international aspect. Thanks to the fact that we have lived in Spain. Also, this was only possible because also my wife is really eager to take these kind of challenges, although it's not always easy. But I really feel that, so also our children have this international view, because I do not want them to feel restricted because they need to stay close or whatever, so they have to look for their future and look where their potential can serve the best.
And you all speak a bit of Spanish nowadays then?
A bit, yeah.
Very nice. So, Tom, if you look at your career, who are really the people that guided you, the mentors in your life, and maybe still the people that you look up today?
Well, I have to say, from a professional point of view, I cannot really say, that person or that person. I think it's a combination of elements of people. We used to have a Japanese manager, and what I still remember is that he always said, look, it's only in times of trouble that you can show your true potential. And I think that is really something that you should think about, because if all things go well, it's easy for everyone. So then you don't really see who are the more gifted people or the more determined people. When things go wrong, then you often see the real strong people standing up. And I think that is really something to pay attention to. If I then look more from a personal point of view, I do admire people like athletes, like explorers, like people who explore the world, who go into a jungle and make some kind of fancy documentary. That is something that really
Who's your
fascinates
favorite
me.
sport athlete?
Well, a favorite, I wouldn't say. I have several. But okay, if I go back to water sports and windsurfing, you have people like Robbie Nash. If you look them up, they have a whole history. You have a Kyle Lenny. But those are people who also, they don't only do the sports, but they also make sure that there is an evolution, that there is innovation in the sports. And this is really fascinating to see what they are doing. And okay, they sometimes seem like crazy people, but they are well in control of what they're doing. So they're quite prepared and quite experienced.
What's the one thing that people might be surprised to learn about you?
I have to take care of what I'm about to reveal, but maybe one of the elements, and I think it's typical for everybody, when we graduated, it was the moment when rap music was appearing, let's say, in the charts and so on. And one of my good and oldest friends, he moved after high school to the US, so he did a scholarship over there. And okay, at that time we still had to write letters, and okay, maybe once a month we could call because it was extremely expensive. But we talked a lot about music. So he was in California, in LA, so we talked a lot about rap music. And what is funny today, if a song plays on the radio today, I can almost fully sing it, and my children find this hilarious.
You can rap.
Yeah, but they do ask me never to do this in front of their friends. So,
So Tom, if you would not have been a CIO or a business leader, what was your dream when you're younger to really realize in your life?
Yeah. Well, it has to go back again to sports. So when I was quite young, I did competitive sailing. And at that time, okay, I watched videos of the America's Cup and so on, so which is also, again, quite high-tech. And at that time, my dream was to become a shipbuilder. But unluckily, okay, at that time also more and more shipyards disappeared from Europe, so I kind of faded out of that dream, but it's still something that interests me.
Okay, super. Now you've built a lot of success in your long career, but we all make our failures, right? So and we have to make them in order to grow and to learn. So would you mind sharing us your most brilliant or one of your most brilliant failures and what you learned from it?
Well, as said, we don't often fail, I would say, on a project level, because, okay, we do a lot of preparation and then typically we're successful in the execution, but, okay, failure, maybe it's more a learning. What I said, okay, being in this competitive state, in this pushback state, this is something where I think evolved a lot compared to the beginning of my career, where you're more open to people. I think you see things from a different point of view. So I would say project failures, okay, yeah, probably there are some examples, but I don't see big ones at this moment. But I think from a personal point of view, it's more this evolution. But I think you have to make these failures to actually, okay, end up where you are today.
Yeah. Tom, what was the best thing that has ever happened to you in your life?
From a personal or professional point of view? Or?
Personal, professional?
Well, personal, I think that there are many things that happened. I think I'm quite blessed with okay, my family and everything surrounding us. But okay, the typical moments of okay, the children being born, getting married. But what I would say I value a lot is that okay, as a family we do a lot of traveling. We often, it's active traveling, so we go surfing, we go hiking in the mountains, we go snowboarding, whatever. And to give you one example, if we are surfing, for example, kids would put the alarm clock at sunrise. So we would get up as a family, just as the sun is coming up. We take some waves, and actually you're there with 3 of your children, shouting like children because it's so fun. And these are the moments which I really cherish, because I think we're blessed that we're having the same interests and that we can share those kind of experiences together. So that makes me happy.
That sounds amazing. And what's your favorite spot to go surfing with the kids?
Well, I shouldn't declare it here because then everybody will go, but north of Spain is one of our favorite destinations. Yeah.
Okay, super. Now that's some of the best things, the most amazing things that happened to you. Would you care to share maybe also one of the worst things that happened to you in your life and what you learned from that?
Of course, yeah, you have things that happen around you, people that pass away, people who get sick. But personally, it's again related to sports. I had a sports accident in 2001. While I was kite surfing, suddenly the ropes got wrapped around my fingers. They pulled off part of my fingers, and I got dragged several hundred meters over the beach. And luckily somebody jumped on the kite to stop everything. And that was a bit of a pivotal moment because, okay, I would say up until that point, okay, maybe hobbies and so on were maybe the prime thing. And I think at that moment I started reflecting, okay, how do I want to continue? And maybe that shifted a bit my perspective at that time. But also learned me that, okay, even bad moments, okay, at that moment you think it's the end of the world, but okay, if you then progress, okay, it's only a small part that disappeared. And if you then look at, okay, people around you, then okay, you're still come to the conclusion that you're quite blessed.
So Tom, thank you so much for your time and coming over to our dungeon here in our studio. It was really a pleasure having this conversation with you. But before we let you go, I would like to ask you, there's young people, young professionals that follow these videos and that want to follow in your footsteps, that also want to become an international top IT leader. What's the advice that you would give these people?
I think the first thing is not set this ambition that you want to become an IT leader. Okay. I once read that, okay, if you have a very fixed ambition, that you lose a lot of other opportunities. To be honest, when I graduated, when I started working, I had no clue where I would end up to. But I think it's about seeing the opportunities, understanding when you're still having enough challenge, and deciding for yourself, okay, what does it take to have that new challenge? Because people sometimes feel, okay, I'm a little bit maybe bored out with what I'm doing. So instead of thinking what they really want, they change, for example, the job or the company. Yeah. But maybe within the same company, you take up a different challenge or a different role. But a different role takes extra energy, takes an extra effort, but it will bring you so much more. So I think it's really regular reflection, where are you today, where do you want to be tomorrow, and not think too much about the faraway future. Because, okay, if you put your soul and your heart into it, I think you will arrive where you want to be.
Okay, and on that note, thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.